Tonight's episode of the 31st Lap Podcast is brought to you by DIRTtrackDigest.com. If it's on dirt, it's on Dirt Track Digest.
This is the 31st Lap Podcast, recorded live in the studios of FingerLakes1.com in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now, your host, Chris Marquardt.
Good afternoon. Welcome to episode number 206 of the 31st Lap. We're going to be catching up with Gary Tomkins here in just a few minutes. I know there's a lot of racing action, obviously, dominating the news. The unfortunate and untimely passing of Brian Clausen. I know that's weighing heavy on a lot of people's minds. We're trying to catch up a little bit with John Balmas. He's pretty close to those divisions, but he's working with DIRTcar and doing some prep at Oswego today. So unfortunately, he's not able to join us. Mike, obviously, he's out on the road. But our thoughts with BC Nation as we see so many different profile pictures being changed over in honor of that individual. It's an unfortunate loss. I know it's hitting a lot of people. So our thoughts with him, dedicating this episode to Brian and all those fans that are grieving the wake of that loss. Just seems to happen just as soon as it seems like we got into a stretch where everything was going pretty well. We catch up with one of these unfortunate circumstances. But again, our thoughts with them. Let's take a quick look back. Watkins Glen weekend. NASCAR was in town. There had a lot of special events going on at the area tracks. Chuck Hebing won in the Sprintacular 2 over at Canandaigua Motorsports Park. That track coming back to life after having a week off. He won over Matt Tanner in that event. That was an ESS feature. Danny Varon, Jason Barney, Brian Howland in the top 5. Peter Britton coming away with a modified win over Matt Shepard and Billy Decker, Gary Tomkins, and Gil Tegg giving chase in the top 5. AJ Lloyd winning the sportsman feature. Steve Paseric, he did double duty. He was second to Mark Manullo in the pure stock feature, and then was the top finishing street stock in that division, and was second to Chad Homan in the crate late model feature over at the Fulton Speedway. Chad Phelps, he won by an eyelash, 0.159 seconds, so just about 15, maybe 16 hundredths of a second over Larry White. It's a lot of people saying that was the best race of the year over there at Fulton so far as we get closer and closer to Labor Day. Only about 2, maybe 3 weeks left of racing here on the local tracks before we turn to the postseason. So we're going to be crowning some track champions here coming up real soon. Mike Bowman, Tom Sears, Ryan Phelps in tow through laps 33 and 34 at Fulton. The top 4 were knotted together, right together. Eric Iosu, he won the Retro 45 feature at Oswego. That was the Tracks Reunion night. That was basically a month removed from his first win. He got that one. They went wire to wire. 45-lap feature there. Cody Graham was behind him with Otto Sidley, Joe Gosick, and Jeff Abel in the top 5. Mike Bond almost won the small block supers, but Jack Patrick edged him out with a victory. One of the closest finishes in history of Oswego. That one was 0.03 of a second, 32 thousandths, 0.032. Bonner twice tried to get by him on the outside. It didn't work out. Coming to the line, shower of sparks, but he didn't have enough momentum to complete the pass over at Oswego. At Outlaw Speedway, Special Motor Racing Outreach Celebrity Race, Matt DiBenedetto won that race over Ryan Preece and Kevin White, Kenny Wallace, Michael McDowell, J.J. Yaley. Also in the top 10, Jared Zimbardi won the Patriot Sprint Tour feature. Over there, John Preston was second. Danny Varon and Darrell Ruggles finishing right up there in the front as well. Mark Smith was runner-up, John Preston third. Alan Johnson picking up his third win of the year at Outlaw. Donnie Lawson was on his heels. Justin Wright, Scott Boudreaux, Steve Payne filling in the top 5. Tommy Collins won the sportsman feature. Let's see. Lost my spot there momentarily. Brian Knowles, his 4th crate late model feature. Rick Michael Jr. won his first IMCA main. Gene Balmer won the street stock 15-lapper. CJ Guerrero and Chuck Winslow were both right on top of him at the line. Ray Heyer picking up his 4th 4-cylinder feature. Chad Ayers and Corky Grant were right on top of him, and Jordan Bacon winning his 6th youth feature. Kevin Timmerman, it was a double points night over at Spencer Speedway, and Amy Catalano was on his back bumper. But Amy owns Kevin's Race of Champions modified, so he's pretty confident nothing was going to happen to him. His win was going to be pretty secure without it being a dump fest going through the last corner, so he held on to the win over Amy Catalano. Jimmy Zacharias was third. Mike Lady, TJ Zacharias filling in the top 5. Jim Steffenhagen went wire to wire in the New York Superstock feature. Nate Peckham was second. Mitch Wright, Tommy Barron, Billy Coyle also in the top 5. Barrett Shank won the Super Sixes feature over Tim Farrell. Mike Hyman topped Travis Montgomery in the 4-cylinder feature over at Brewerton Speedway. Larry White he showed his move to Bricknell's was the right one. Put that car right back in victory lane. Patiently worked his way up to second. Caught a late caution flag, which let him get by Chuck Bauer, and he ended up going on to win that one. Bauer fell pretty hard, too, as well. Rob Bellinger was second. Tim Sears, Bauer, and Ryan Phelps fill out the top 5 there. Utica Rome, Danny Barron picked up the win. And Sunday's action, the schedule coming up for this weekend has been jumbled significantly. They're basically going to run a twin bill. The Go Nuclear Late Model Series is going to complete their 30-lap main. Race Champions Modifieds are going to run all 55 laps of the Victoria 200. Once that's done, Utica Rome is going to clear the grandstands, bring everybody back in a few minutes after that, and run a full program with their annual Night of Legends, where they're going to honor Jerry Cook and former track promoter Dick Waterman and Bill Wimble. Speaking of Hall of Fame night, that is where Gary Tomkins picked up his win over at Weedsport Speedway on their Hall of Fame night. We're going to get Gary on the line here in a minute. They also honored Jack Johnson over at Fonda Speedway here last night. Haven't heard much on how that went yet. Give me a second. We'll pull some of that stuff up. Try to, anyway. Hey, Gary, it's Chris. Can I put you in? Hang on. All right. Gary, you got us okay?
Yep.
All right, great. So, congratulations on the win. It's got to mean a lot to you.
Yeah, it does. It's I wouldn't say it's a surprise, but it's definitely made everybody happy.
Take us through that one. We've been reading all over the place. The move for the win has become stuff of legend now. That last lap move, you're the only guy that wanted to try getting up off the bottom and try the outside, and you ended up making the pass and got the win.
Well, I want to go back a little earlier than that. We the night didn't start out very good for us. We were really slow, actually. We were like 4/10 off of Brett in time trials. The car was not good at all. And we made a bunch of changes, changed 3 shocks and a few other things on the car, gears, and did some stuff with the motor. And come heat race time, I actually got a little lucky. We started 6th, and Larry White started right in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
And drive down into turn 1, and he turns left, drives right down to the bottom. And, I just drove around because he basically held everybody up on the bottom line. And I drove around him, got into 3rd, and then just went down to the bottom and protected my line and ended up getting a redraw. And then my wife draws 3rd starting spot. So that really put us in a good position for the feature.
Right.
I wasn't sure how good the track was going to be in the feature. I mean, I saw some guys move around a little bit in qualifying, but not really have a whole lot of success. It just seemed like the bottom was going to be a place to be. And starting 3rd, we thought we had a really good shot. But early on, I was faster than Stu was, but I could never fire good enough where I could get it stuck in there neck right behind Eric where he couldn't come down to the bottom. And he was just doing enough to where I couldn't really get a good run on him and get next to him. And, so I basically had to follow him for however many laps was. I just never really got a chance to get by him at all. Eric actually drove away from us a little bit at one point, and then we sort of caught back up to him. Then we had to restart. Matt Shepard was in 4th, and I don't know if we completed the lap or not. I don't think we did, but they said we did. So, of course, Matt got the jump on me on the start. He got a better start, got ahead of me, and they put him ahead of me. So now he was 3rd, and I was 4th, and that sort of ticked me off a little bit because you really don't want to let Matt Shepard by at any point.
No.
And here I was now. I stuck behind Stu and on the outside of Matt, and I said, I got to try to do something because otherwise we're going to be running 4th or worse. So the restart came about, and we drove it into turn 1, and man, the thing just stuck right in the middle of the track. And I could see that nobody had been running up, especially coming out of 2, running up the track at all because there's a lot of loose dirt. And it took me a few laps to get that cleaned off to where I could really launch off of 2, but the car was really good right in the middle of the track. It really stuck well. I was able to drive up across the backstretch to find some bite up by the wall going on the backstretch and really give me a run getting into 3. And I was able to roll by Matt and Stu, and then I caught up to Eric. But Eric was just good enough where I couldn't get next to him to beat him into the corner. And, that's really pretty much the way we stayed most of the race until we had the caution with 8 laps to go. And I thought, well, I'm just going to roll out there again on the restart. And I did, and the car felt terrible. I think the tires cooled down. I just didn't have any grip. So Eric got away from me a little bit. I went back to the bottom and caught back up to him. And then, I said, well, I got to try it again because, I don't want to just ride here and end up finishing second without trying. And I went to the top, and lo and behold, with coming from the white flag, I got a really good run off at 4 and got next to Eric down the front stretch. And then the car stuck well in 1, and I got a good run off 2 and beat him off at 2. And then it's just a matter of as long as he wasn't going to drive me inside of the door, which I know he's not going to.
Right.
I felt like we really there's no way he's going to get back by me. I was so good getting into 3. The car just stuck so well that I felt as long as I didn't mess up and something didn't break in the car, we were going to be good, and that's what happened.
What goes through your mind when you finally clear the guy? I know you've only got a half lap left. I mean, obviously you got to hit your marks. You've done this a million times now, but nonetheless, do your hands start to sweat a little bit more? Does your heart start to pound a little bit more when you're coming off 2, or are you so wrapped up in the moment of clearing the pass that it doesn't even register that you're coming around for the win?
Well, I knew I was coming around for a win, but I also knew, we weren't running. I can't even tell you if I ever was going full throttle at all. The track was so slippery. I just knew I had to keep my momentum up and not get the car too sideways, or in the case of getting in turn 1, letting the car push too much. And, I was really able to do that. I hadn't looked at the lap times yet, but I'm almost wondering if Eric actually slowed down the last lap a little bit too. He looked like he was getting a little bit loose towards the end of the race in the middle of the corner. So, maybe he was trying to be a little careful or whatever. I don't know, but I knew I had a shot at it. I knew, the car was good enough to do it, and it's just a matter of, hitting, like they always say, hitting your marks, and that's really what I had to do. I just had to hit the spots right where I wasn't gonna, let the car, like I said, push too much or get too sideways, and
right.
And the car, I think the longer the race went on, the better it got, and just as long, like I said, as long as we got next to him, getting down into 1, I really thought we had a good shot at it, and that's what happened.
So is that just a product of our drought conditions, about the track being hard and slick the way that it was, or is that what they're trying to do with the track over there and keep it so that it's racy like this? So you've got the opportunity where, you can find some momentum and run around top and run similar lap times if you're just cruising on the bottom.
It's hard to say. I know, talking to a bunch of different track operators, that this drought's been hurting them. I do know that when it rains, even during the week, and then you race, on the weekend, the track is a little bit different for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say. I haven't really talked to Jimmy about it. I know he wasn't really happy with the way the track was. It actually wasn't all that great, and from what I've been told, not many guys ventured out to the outside, to try to pass cars. So I think it threw everybody for a loop a little bit. The track actually felt like we were actually sort of running on rumble strips. It just had that bounciness to it. And when it's like that, it's really hard to get grip. And I just think it really took some guys by surprise. The track's not usually like that, and whether they weren't set up for it or what, I can guarantee you if the track's just like that next time we go back to Labor Day weekend, there'll be some guys venturing in different parts of the track trying to find speed. But for whatever reason, everybody just decided to go to the bottom. And, it was decent down there, but, you really had to be careful, not hit the wall and get a flat tire. But I almost think just because it hasn't been raced on, of course the drought, and, it's really tough to prepare a track just for specials like this when you don't race that many races on it, and, Mother Nature isn't helping. So I got to believe they really want to try to have it a little better than it was.
Right. I'm not taking anything away from the track. I like watching modifieds when it goes dry slick, because you can see guys make progress. The guys that can drive can actually make progress up through the track. And you touched on something with the special events and only running at particular times. We've seen this in the past with rolling wheels, be dry and hard and slippery, but obviously these two tracks aren't the same. We're not comparing apples to apples. Weedsport is significantly smaller, significantly more banking. During the daytime, we see, especially late season, seemed like rolling wheels tended to want to get rubber down, and then everybody's just lockstep. It didn't seem like Weedsport took rubber in any way, shape, or form, and if it had on the inside, would that outside line have been doing anything for you?
No, I don't think so. And it wasn't going to take rubber just because the track didn't do what we usually call clean up. There was dust on the track.
Right.
And as long as there's ever dust on the track, you're never going to get rubber. It's just because it's just too makes everything too loose and mealy, and just where the tire can't actually get right down to the hard part of the track. Mm-hmm. And the fact that like I said, the track is sort of like rumble strips. It's just not going to let the rubber come off the tire and adhere to the track at all. So it's been a long time since Weedsport's rubbered up to be in that dry. I know I did talk to Jimmy a little bit during the redraw, and he said, he was wondering about maybe moving the start time back a little bit for Labor Day just to see, if that's going to help. Of course, the sun's going to be going down a little bit earlier at that point anyway, part of the year. I know when we got there, the track was quite wet, and I don't know how deep it was. I didn't go out and really look at that much, but I know that it wasn't sure. I'm sure it wasn't the way they wanted it to be. It was dustier and drier than what I've seen it in quite a while, and it's unfortunate, because that facility is so awesome now that the track's still giving them problems.
This win reminded me a lot of Hagerstown, and we're going back a long way. When you and Tim Fuller ran side by side for so long, how about, in terms of the description of it with the restarts and having to run and you're running on the outside with the dry slick, a little bit of the rumble strip condition as you were describing, were you concerned at all with the tire chunking off the way that it did at Hagerstown? I mean, how did the two of those wins compare?
I was actually more concerned that the tire was going to seal up and stop gripping the track. That's why, and I know a couple of guys are doing it, under caution, we were trying to keep heating the tires just so it wouldn't seal over. It just felt like the tires were never really gripping the track a whole lot. Mm-hmm. We had the tires cut up a lot, and it just felt like that we were basically racing on marbles. So I wasn't really worried about that at all. It's really hard to compare the Hagerstown race and this race. It's really two total different circumstances. I mean, Hagerstown, when we did that was an awesome racetrack and allowed us to run side by side for so long. And here it was just a matter of, I just found something that nobody else had found, more or less, than anything else. And I just very fortunate. I was really surprised that I pulled it off, really, to be honest with you, because Eric was running pretty good, and just for whatever reason, that car liked to be up on the track a little bit and run around on the banking. And I think we were fortunate to be able to find that like we did and get up there and get around them.
Is this the same car that you're running anyplace else, or is this just for the tour?
No, we ran this car at Eldora.
Uh-huh.
And we're going to run it at Rolling Wheels. That'll be our next race for it. And then Weedsport after that. Super Dirt Week, Charlotte, definitely. I don't know any other shows than that, what we're going to do. I haven't really talked to Darren, the guy that owns the car, too much about it. I know right now our focus is just trying to get it ready for Rolling Wheels and do what we got to do to get everything ready for there. So, because I usually run pretty good there, and so we're going to have a motor, hopefully have the motor done that we ran in there last year, that we started 25th in the series race and got third before a brake caliper broke. So really looking forward to get back there and like to see what Jeremy Corcoran's done with the track as far as surface and stuff like that. So it should be interesting. I can't wait.
Running through the top finishers from the Hall of Fame 100, Eric Rudolph was second behind Gary Tomkins, $10,000 in your pocket for that effort. Stu Freeze, Matt Shepard, Danny Johnson, Rob Bellinger. Behind them, Billy Decker, Pat Ward. It's pretty much the usual suspects you expect to see in the top 10 there. Napa Sportsman Shootout Series 25 lapper. Adam Hilton came up with the win over Dave Marcichelli, Rocky Warner. Good win for Adam, holding off two real studs, Connor Cleveland, Ronnie Davis III, Will Shields, also right up in there as well. For this team, at this point in the year, we talked a little bit a couple weeks ago with Chuck Winslow about some of the street stock guys. You see attrition guys that have breakdowns, they run out of money, they can't keep going. Obviously, the street stocks aren't side by side the same. The budgets are far greater with the modifieds. What's $10,000 mean for a team at this point of the year?
It means a lot. It means we can do a few more things. As far as we're still in the process of trying to build this team up. We basically started with nothing at the beginning of the year, and we took our time, but ended up actually sort of kind of thrashing to get ready for Eldora. And we're still trying to get some spare parts and some equipment that's going to help us make the job a little easier to race this thing and give it inventory and stuff like that. So it's definitely a big help. Definitely a morale booster, obviously, for the team to prove that we put a car together that's as good as everybody else, that we can go out and compete with them.
Right.
And I think we're still learning this car. I mean, we were terrible when we showed up at Weedsport, and we made some changes, and the changes worked. And that's what you want to have happen to a car if you're not right on the ball when you show up, is be able to make some changes, and see and feel a difference in the car, and that's what we were able to do. So I hate to use the word, but this car's still got a lot of potential in it, and I really can't wait to get in it again and drive it again.
Along with the Hall of Fame 100, Weedsport Speedway and the Northeast Dirt Modified Hall of Fame recognizing this year's class, Billy Pouch among the drivers that were inducted. He started racing in 1975, 720 career wins at 30 tracks in 7 states, 6 Freedom 76s, 6 Outlaw 200s, won in asphalt modified sprint cars, midgets, late models, you name it, he's won in it. Jeff Hetzler, he went in as well. He's got over 150 wins. He started racing in 1978. 11 championships at Orange County Fair Speedway and Accord. He won the 1984 Mr. Dirt 320 series. He also won the first small block race ever up at Syracuse. He won the 2007 Eastern States weekend, back-to-back Eastern States wins in the small blocks in 88 and 89. 2 Mr. Dirt Track USA wins at Lebanon Valley. 2 Race of Kings for the small blocks. Pretty decorated drivers right there. Don Diffendorf started racing at 5 Mile Point. He had a great rivalry with Dutch Hogue at Shangri-La. He won the SDP 200 at Lancaster, 2 State Fair championships in 69 and 71. And he retired the same year that Hetzler started racing in 1978. Eugene Mills was recognized as the Gene DeWitt Car Owner Award recipient. He had Blue Hen Racing in 1977. That's the year that started. He's had Ricky Elliott, Bobby Wilkins, Harold and H.J. Bunting in the car, Jack Johnson, Bob McCready, Gary Golub, and Kenny Brightbill, who was probably one of the most successful drivers that Mills had in the car. They won Super Dirt Series races at Volusia Speedway down in Florida, Rolling Wheels, Lebanon Valley, Fonda, Ransomville, and won the 1988 Super Dirt Series Super Dirt Week Championship. Bob Deeney, honored as the Mechanic and Engineer Award recipient. He started as the Dirt Tech Inspector in 1981 and held that position for about 30 years. Currently the Tech Inspector at Accord in Orange County. He wrote the rule book that brought the modifieds to more or less what they are today, given a couple little changes. Also, and I didn't know this until I learned it in one of the press releases about him, he raced Ferraris, Cobras, Lolas, and so on the SCCA Can-Am series with people like Mario Andretti, Sam Posey, and Bruce McLaren. So that was pretty cool. Marty Baberwick, he was awarded the Leonard J. Salmon's contribution to auto racing. He was the Dirt Series starter from 72 to 74, pit steward for Super Dirt Week for 25 years, and the GM of Fonda from 96 to 2013. George Caruso was honored with the Andrew S. Fusco Award for Media Excellence. Caruso started Speedway Press and is now still got his hand in it, and they're celebrating 53 years of printing the track programs at Oswego Speedway. Teresa Rogers is the general manager of Grandview. For the past 50 years, she was honored with the Outstanding Woman in Racing. They were behind the creation of the Freedom 76, the Thunder on the Hill series, and she and Bruce have been named Promoters of the Year 5 times by Racing Promotion Monthly. As Gary said, the Super DIRTcar Series is going to head to Lebanon Valley for the Mr. Dirt Track USA event September the 1st, and they're back at Weedsport on September the 5th. Rolling Wheels, the shuffle continues for those guys as that event has been moved. It's been pushed out a week at this point. We don't really have a lot more details, but I expect the folks that are working close with Rolling Wheels to pull some of those details out. Gary, like you said, you're looking forward to getting the motor package put back together. You've had some success at Rolling Wheels in the past. The track, the up and down status of this for the last couple of years, I think I got to believe that turnout's going to be pretty good there just because so many people want to get back to the fast track and race there.
Yeah, I think so too. It's not a dirt sanctioned event, but they're running dirt rules, so it's not like you got to make a lot of changes to your car to go there. So, there's no series races, right then either. So I really look forward to it. I think it's going to be a pretty good deal. Like I said, I got faith in Jeremy. With him running Canandaigua all his years, he's done a wonderful job with that surface. So I can't wait to see what he does with on wheels. I think it's going to be. It might not be record-breaking fast, but I guarantee it's going to be racy, and I really look forward to that.
What are some of your thoughts on Super Dirt Week moving to Oswego Speedway?
It's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be frustrating for some guys. I think it's going to be frustrating for all of us because nobody's obviously ever run there in a dirt car on dirt. So, it's going to be. I think everybody's got to have a little bit of patience because it's a whole new deal. Everybody's going to be learning, including the officials that run the place,
right,
and run the show. What needs to be done to run a smooth show. A lot of people are worried about the track, and I can understand that. It's going to be a lot of laps on that track. I don't expect it to be perfect. I got to believe there's going to be some issues with it. I don't think there's going to be something that's going to stop the racing or anything like that. And we raced on really a piece of crap surface for the last 10 years at Syracuse, and we kept going back every year. The only difference is now if the track's a piece of crap, we're not going to be going over at 140 miles an hour. So It's going to be a little safer for us that way. I think Oswego's an historic, iconic racetrack. I think the world's going to be watching. The short track world's going to be watching, and it should be interesting. 300 laps. Everybody's got to think about what they're going to do as far as strategy for pitting and stuff like that, and then tire wear is going to come into play and stuff. So I think it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it just because the equipment we've got. We'll just have to see how it plays out. But I got to believe that there's going to be a lot more people there that are going to have a shot to win than there will be if it was at Syracuse still. So
sure.
It should be interesting.
That's a great point right there, and everybody's going to want to be the guy that won it at Oswego,
right?
Because what if this doesn't go back there in years to come? That's going to be one of the things. Obviously, Matt Shepard's going to be one of the guys that we're watching. Stu Friesen, he's going to be at the front. Those guys have been running the table every place they go. Jack Johnson tribute night over at Fonda Speedway. Matt Shepard picked up the win in that 60-lapper over Stu Friesen, Jimmy Horton, Ronnie Johnson, Vic Coffey running the top five. That not getting a lot of news out of Fonda, unfortunately. Like to be a little bit closer to that track, but that it was a Race of Champions Tour race. Matt Shepard, as Gary said, he's not a guy that you want to let ahead of you, as was the case under caution over there at Weedsport, but nonetheless you were able to find some speed on the line that nobody else was willing to go. That situation with Oswego, given that there's the asphalt underneath it, if we get any hint of rain, I'm wondering what is going to happen with the bank of that place. Is it just going to wash all the track right down into the infield?
It all depends on how. If they have time to put it down, I don't think so.
No.
There's going to be some depth to it. It's not going to be just a couple inches. So I think as long as they get it packed down to begin with, I think they should be okay. It could be a quagmire, but you know what? If we were running Syracuse, I've been up there when it was a quagmire, and that's a dirt track. So it's just hopefully the weather cooperates and they can get the surface down and get it packed down, originally, and let it set, and then if they can work it, they can work with it. I think they've got a good plan on how they're going to handle drainage with the track and stuff, so we should be good there. I know one thing, just for the fact you look at all the dirt racetracks around the area, if they need equipment, there's going to be equipment available,
right?
To work on it. So it's not like we're out in the middle of nowhere where there's no racetracks around that we can use equipment, to go work on that thing. So I think they're going to do whatever it takes to get that thing raceable and give us a good surface. And I'm not really worried about that. It's more, logistics-wise is, what do we need, for tires, setup, shocks, stuff like that. That's really what I'm more worried about than what the track's going to do, because they're going to try to hold it no matter what. So we just got to be prepared to do whatever it takes to put on a show for the fans.
You made a good point about this is the first time that they've had dirt cars on Oswego when it was dirt. Back in the mid-'90s, they tried that experimental asphalt tour thing where they had the dirt cars running on asphalt tracks. And I remember Bob McCready pictured with his dirt modified-ish, but I'm pretty sure it was purpose-built at Oswego, and it was a pretty exotic-looking ride. Do you remember any of that?
Actually, I worked at Troyer's at that time building bodies
Right.
for the dirt cars, and I built the bodies for all the dirt asphalt cars too. So you go to the Dirt Hall of Fame and look at Billy Taylor's dirt asphalt car. I built the body for that. So yeah, I know quite well. Actually, Jimmy Horton pretty much dominated that whole day, and it was funny because that was in a Troyer car, and he absolutely hated that car, and Billy talked him into giving it one more shot, and he went down there and just destroyed everybody. But yeah, I remember those times. Actually right at the time when I was starting to work or starting to drive dirt modifieds, and I never raced on asphalt or anything like that. But like I said, I was working at Troyer's at that time, so I knew what was going on, and now I look forward to getting there with actual dirt on the track. So it should be fun.
Well, wish you the best of luck. Before we let you go, is there anybody that you wanted to make mention of before we get out of here?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I got to thank Darren Kendrick for putting this deal together to allow me to race this car. He spent a lot of money, and I truly appreciate it. I got to thank Bicknell Racing Products. They built the chassis for it. This has got a JPM motor in it right now. Darren, I talked to Darren today, and he said he talked to Julian, and he said he was tickled pink the fact that we won with his motor. So on a slick track too, so that's pretty cool. Fox Shocks and Fastline Performance. Bruce and Mike were there the other night at Weedsport, and when we were struggling, they made suggestions that really worked out for us, and I got to thank them for that. I got to thank my wife for letting me do this. I got to thank Kyle, Nate, Carl, Arnold, Brandon for helping out, working on the car. Of course, I got to thank Dave Rauscher for helping me out too. Actually, I worked out of his shop in Waterloo with the car, with that car there. And he doesn't give a lot of credit, obviously he owns Tim Fuller's car, but he helps me out too. He helps out a couple other people too, and I do appreciate all the help he's given to me over the years. He doesn't have to, but he's got a big heart, and I do appreciate it. I got to thank Ford Erie Timber Mart coming on board and helping out with the program. They've definitely been a big help for Darren to pay the bills. I got to thank also Pilot Design. Dan Pilot did the body on the thing. I really like the way it worked. Their looks, it's an awesome, different look for me, and it really stands out looking at the pictures and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. And of course, I got to thank my mom and dad, big supporters. My dad actually and Gary Stanley come down every once in a while, help us down in the shop. So I got to thank them too. It really makes a difference when you get family involved, and it's pretty cool to have that, my dad helped me out again. So I got to thank Super Jen also, and Paul Cole helping us out this year, and I appreciate his help. So I think I've got everybody covered. I hope I do. It takes a lot to put one of these deals together, and I'm very fortunate. I actually have two other great rides. I drive for Tom Core and Chris Clark Friday nights at Outlaw Speedway, and we've got one win, and I think we're going to hopefully pick off at least one more before the season's over. And then, of course, I drive for Rich and Ralph Vincent at Canandaigua, and we got a win with them too. And I think we got fourth last Saturday, and I think we're close to getting another win with them too. So I'm very fortunate, very happy that I can drive for these people, and they allow me to use their equipment. I'm very thankful for that.
Awesome, Gary. Well, again, congratulations on the win. Keep in touch. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk with you again after one of those weekly wins, and maybe if all the cards fall the right way, we'll talk with you after one of the big ones at Rolling Wheels or at Super Dirt Week.
All right, man. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gary. Good job.
All right, thanks.
There goes Gary Tomkins, winner at the Hall of Fame 100 at Weedsport Speedway with the Super DIRTcar Series. That is going to do it for this edition of the 31st Lap. We're all done here. We'll be back again next week, giving you a recap of what's going on in the Finger Lakes racing scene. We'll catch up with you then. That's going to do it for episode number 206 of the 31st Lap. We'll see you next week.